The more fashion changes, the more you feel you have to keep up with fashion, the more you have to spend. Correct? The sad fact of where we are today, 96% of the population, 96% of the population will not reach financial freedom. In this room, that means only 4%. And based on the things that you did before, 10 of you, based on what you were doing before, will be financially free, based on what you've been doing. That's crazy, right? Turn to the person next to you and say, that's not going to be me. I know you're different to the rest of the population here in Holland, but a show of hands, based on what you've done to date, how many of you think that you were on track to be those 10 that will be financially free by the time you retire? Thank you for your honesty. As I said, you're encouraged every day to spend more of your money on a lot of things, trying to maybe look a little bit more successful than you might be. Bigger house, nicer, faster car, nicer clothes, jewelry, shoes, handbags. However, in most cases, if you really thought about it, if you looked hard enough, you could find something very similar, probably at a lower price. Am I right? Yes. I'm right. Most of us can. What I'm going to do for you today is to show you how to take the income flow of money away from you and have it coming back to you. Good or good? As it stands now, every single euro that you're earning is building somebody's wealth. It's either building your wealth by you investing your money, or the wealth of this government through your taxes, or the retailers and the loan companies and the mortgage companies that you're spending your money with. Somebody's making money out of your money. Agreed? The word consumer, anyone knows what that means? It means to consume, to savage, to destroy. That's what the word consumer means. Just as fire consumes your home, cancer consumes your body, the retailers and loan companies are consuming your money. Stop being manipulated, stop being a consumer, and stop actually destroying yourself within. That's how they're making you spend your money. So, here's the truth. As I said to you before, most of you are millionaires in the making. You just didn't know it or don't know it. Anyone here like me to prove that? Okay. I did some research, again, on the internet, and I found that the average household income in Holland is in excess of 50,000 euro. Just as a show of hands here, how many of you earn as a household more than 40,000 euro per annum? Okay. Anybody not? Anybody less than that? Okay, so the vast majority is way in excess of that. Before tax. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just do what Sandy did yesterday, but just elaborate on it a little bit more. €40,000. Most people working lifespan is how many years? It's about 40, maybe 80 for some people, but it's 40. Typically between 25 and 65, right? Forgetting any inflation, any increases on an annual basis, over 40 years, that's 1.6 million, right? So you've actually got 1.6 million euro just on 40,000. On 50,000 euro, what do you think that is? 2 million. Any of you earning in excess of 50,000 euro? That's 2 million. Some of you are earning a lot more than that. People earning 100,000 are probably going to have 4 million euro pass through your hands. The only difference is most of you see money as sand. And you hold it and it keeps dripping through your hands because you lose it. We're going to show you how to keep it and how to multiply it, and more importantly, how to use leverage to increase it dramatically. Yes. Anyone interested? Yes. Okay. Based on these figures, can most of you see that you're going to be earning a lot of money over your lifetime? Yes? So you're going to keep that, aren't you? On what we show you, you're going to keep it. Turn to the person next to you and say, I'm a millionaire in the making, and so are you. Okay, now that you're millionaires in the making, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you would like, right now, €1 million? Yes. Thank you. Or, how many of you would like €1 that doubles in value for the next 30 days? Okay. If you chose the second one, by day 22, that would have already accumulated to over €2 million. By day 23, 4 million. By day 24, 8 million. And that's through what's called compound interest. I'm going to explain that in a little bit more detail. But you might be saying, how's that possible? Compound interest is a magic formula. In fact, any of you heard of Albert Einstein? He was a genius, right? He was once asked, what is the greatest invention he's ever seen in his lifetime? And he said, compound interest. Why would a genius to the world that we all believe and know is a genius, why would he say compound interest? The formula, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is just amazing. Okay, let me explain how that magic works for compound interest and how it works more importantly for you, and how by using it, it will accelerate your road to financial freedom. Compound interest is a magic formula where interest is added and compounded every single month. So, how it works is like this. You have €1,000, and let's make things easy. We're going to work on a 10% interest rate ratio to make this figure easy. So 10% is 100, right? The next month, that 10% is added on the interest, and interest is added on the interest. So that becomes 1,210, and so on and so on and so on. In the early months, it doesn't actually amount to very much, but as the ball starts to roll. So, any of you have been on the top of a hill or mountain when it's snowing? And you've got a snowball, and as it goes down, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This little snowball is your compound interest. As it starts to roll, it gains momentum and gets faster and faster and bigger and bigger. And that's just a time factor. The problem with credit and debt is compound interest tends to work against you. If you don't believe me, how many of you have a mortgage? All I'd like you to do is take your mortgage payment, multiply that by 12, and then multiply that by the time of years you have that mortgage over, and you'll see very quickly how much interest you're paying and how much compound interest is being applied to you. And that's how the banks, the loan companies, the credit card companies become very wealthy on your money by using compound interest in their favor. How many of you like me to show you how to use compound interest in your favor? Yes. You sure? Yes. Anyone not? Okay. Can I ask, how many of you have access, either through savings, investments, of about £10,000? Sorry, euro. I'm in Holland now, euro. Okay. I'm going to show you a magic formula in terms of compound interest just with one figure, then I'm going to elaborate that in more detail. Okay, 10,000 euro. It's a lot of money to a lot of people, but it's not a huge sum of money, is it? Compound interest, if you apply compound interest at just 5%, so just a 5% rate of return, most of you think you can get 5% over a long period of time if you have the right strategy? Yes? Okay, that would actually grow in 10 years to 26,500, sorry, 20 years, 26,500 euro. That will grow in 20 years to 26,500 euro. However, at 40 years, that same amount grows to 70,000 euro at just 5%. This is where things start to get interesting. If you invested the same 10,000 euro and your rate of return at 10%, that same figure, this is at 5%. Would be 67,000 euro. Is that a big difference? Okay. This is 10% growth. The first one is 5% growth. After 20 years. Both of these are 20 years. Okay. The same 10,000 euro. I know this is a long time, but bear with me. I just want to show you the impact of compounded interest. After 20 years, how much do you think 10,000 would be after 40 years with compound interest? Anyone want to have a guess? 452,000 euro at 10%. 10% might seem like a lot now, right? We're going to show you strategies where you can earn at least 10% on your money. Good or good? 10,000 is a small amount of money. You can get 10,000 together over the next 2 or 3 years in terms of savings, right? The whole point is showing you how compound interest works as a snowball. The longer you leave it, the interest on interest on interest on interest keeps adding and adding and adding and adding. And the longer you leave it, the more money that you actually make. Does that make sense? Okay. Remember I said that the average household income in Holland was around about 50,000 euro? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on a very conservative figure of around about 40,000 euro to show you what the real impact if you do some proper financial planning. This is where I and Nasande are slightly different. Nasande said yesterday that if you just take 10% of your income, it's going to take you a very long time to become wealthy. Yeah? Because most of you might be dead because he said 40 years to become wealthy, right? I'm going to show you through compound interest it's not quite as difficult as that. On a £40,000 income, what we're going to show you between Nasande and ourselves is how to save 10% of your income, just 10%, to use in as an investment. 10% of 40,000 euros is how much? 4,000 euro. Now, applying the principle of compounded interest, that 4,000 euro, if you invest it at 10% for 20 years, just that alone would grow to €250,000. Invest 4,000 each year for 20 years, the compounded growth on each 4,000 euro that you put in each year for the next 20 years. The first year's 20,000 euro, the first year's 4,000. The next year's 4,000, the next year's 4,000. But what happens is the first year at 10%, the 4,000 becomes 4,400, right? The next year it gets added, the 8,400 gets another 10% and so forth. And each year that's compounding on that amount. 30 years, so 30 years is a little bit longer, right? 30 years, that same 4,000 compounded interest is almost €750,000. Euro. Every year you take 10% of your income, which is €4,000. You keep investing same 10,000 every single year from your income. This is not taking into account any increase in your income on a yearly basis. Just 4,000 each year with compounded growth, with a 10% growth rate. 20 years was €250,000. So 20 years, 250. Now, for the young ones in the room, or your children, or for your friends that do have more time on their side, €4,000 invested every year for the next 40 years. Anyone want to hazard a guess what that might be? Just under 2 million, 1.9 million. Is that a lot of money? Yes. Can some of you do that? Yes. Where do you get the 10%? We'll come to how you get the 10%. 1.9 million. I like the way you're thinking, though. Yes. How do you prevent the tax man from taking your interest? That's something else we'll cover as well. What I want you to understand is the principle of compounded interest and an allocation of your funds to your finances to make you free. If you don't look after your money, is anybody else going to? No. The only person that can control you and your finances is you. Only you can do a share allocation from your income to investment. I don't care where you invest your money, who you invest it with, as long as you have a strategy that you follow. These are just financial rules that follow. And wealthy people follow these rules. They use their money, and more importantly, they never touch this money. Nasande will tell you a story, if he has time, to do with the goose that lays the golden egg. And I'm sure that part of it will make even more sense. You never, ever, 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 ever touch this money. When do you touch this money? Never. This money will give you your passive income, because at a point you'll say, I just want the interest of this money. We already talked about yesterday, at 5% rate of interest, if you have €800,000, that's going to give you €40,000 income per year, right? Doesn't take you long to amass that amount of money. And there's lots of strategies to get there, but you have to start with investment, right? Thank you. Okay. That's 40 years, sorry. This is 40 years, 1.9 million.